everyone, I am Liz from French Toast and Books, and today I have my awesome friend, Michael.
Hello again.
And we are going to do the Hamilton book tag because we are super obsessed with Hamilton right now. And if you do not know anything about this fantastic Broadway musical, it discusses our founding fathers, particularly Alexander Hamilton and his life story, in the interesting form of like a hip-hop style
Rap
musical. So it's very interesting and we love it so much. So we are so grateful for Maureen, a fellow booktuber, who created this tag, and I will link her video in the description below. So we're going to get started right away.
No one else was in the room where it happened. Where it happens.
The Room Where It Happens, a book world you would put yourself in. And I chose the Leviathan series by Scott Westerfeld because it takes place in that beginning Industrial Revolution time frame in the early 1900s, also at the beginning of World War I. And the way they integrate biology and evolution into all of that STEAM era is just perfect for me, and I just want to be a part of it.
The book world I chose was, yeah, it's a cheat, but I went with something different. I went with the Doctor Who universe. And yes, it's a TV series, but it's also books, it's also comics, it's also audio series, it's everything. And the Doctor Who books are honestly fantastic and where you're going to find some of the best Doctor Who stories out there and the best characterization. So yeah, it has to be. It's my #1 fandom. What else? Yeah, no comment.
There's nothing else.
There's nothing else to it. The Schuyler Sisters, which is underrated female character. And for this one, I chose Valentine Wiggin from Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. She's just one of those characters she plays such a vital part in the story and to the development of the hero, and is such a rock for him, not just in Ender's Game, but in the books that follow. And yeah, nobody really talks about her. No one really gives her the credit I think she deserves for being such a strong female presence out there in the literary world.
And so I chose Caddy in Don't Touch by Rachel Wilson, and this book isn't just an underrated female character, the book itself is underrated, and it's about a girl who has a mental illness and she is trying to hide her secret, hide her mental illness, and also navigate through high school as she tries out to be one of the lead roles in Hamlet for her school play.
Shot, I am not thrown away, my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country, yo, scrappy and hungry, and I'm not thrown away, my shot.
Shot, a character that goes after what they want and doesn't let anything stop them. Alright, so the character I chose is Amy in Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, because if you have read this book, you know how headstrong she is and how she plans everything to the littlest, tiniest second, because she's just that prepared to follow through every single plan she has.
So then what I chose, it's not specifically one character because I decided to go with every single villain in the history of ever, at least every strong villain. I feel like, and I was talking to one of my closest friends about this, that there is really no such thing as a villain per se, but they've still got these strong motivations and the powerful ambition to go after what they want, no matter what their intentions are, evil or good or not. This category is called Stay Alive, and it's basically a character you wish was still alive. And for this one, I picked, I won't give away spoilers in case you haven't read this one, but if you haven't read this one, where have you been? The one that dies in this one. Do I need to even say more? Do I really even need to say more on this one?
No.
No.
It's a good one. It's really depressing, and I agree, but I have my own death that tore me apart, and all I'm gonna say is at the very end of the book someone dies and it tore me up so brutally that I cried for a very long time. heartbreaking end to a relationship you've ever read? So in order to answer this question, I had to pick through all the books where there wasn't a death, because that's definitely going to be heartbreaking, is seeing one character you fall in love with die. So instead I chose a different book where it was just a horrible, terrible, heart-wrenching breakup scene, and that was The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa.
One I picked, it's not a romantic relationship per se. It's more a mother-son relationship. So the one I picked for most heartbreaking into a relationship was this one from Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. This is the only time in any book I've ever read where I read this moment, literally set the book down, then picked it up, threw it against the wall, screamed at it for an hour, cried for another hour, and then just put it down for a month. And then immediately got back into it. It was that, it hurt. It still hurts.
Oceans rise, empires fall. We have seen each other through it all. And when push comes to shove, I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love. Da 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 da.
You'll Be Back. It is the sassiest villain. And the one I picked for this one is a character called Malak from The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. He's just this he's cruel, he's heartless, he's this really nasty baddie. But on the other hand, he's got all these fancy tattoos, and he's always going on about, ooh, I want more tattoos here, I want more tattoos here, so I can have the angel of death ascend into my body so I can kill more people, and I'm going to disguise myself, and it's going to be so awesome. And I'm just like, you are so sassy. You're so flamboyant. It's just so much fun, even though I know you're cruel and evil, but I can't take him seriously. Okay.
Alright, I chose Count Olaf in The Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, because I feel like you just can't get any sassier than him. He doesn't stop. He disguises himself in so many different ways. And I mean, he has fantastic actors portraying him in both film version and series version that will be coming out soon. I mean, you have Jim Carrey, and then you have Neil Patrick Harris. I mean, obviously, this character has so much sass, he needs some sassy actors to portray him.
The Reynolds pamphlet. Have you read this? Alexander Hamilton had a touring affair, and he wrote it down right there.
The Reynolds pamphlet is a book with a twist you didn't see coming. Well, so there's a lot of books with twists I don't see coming. And it's very rare that you know of a twist and are still blindsided when you see it happen. And for me, that was The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. Now this book is very sad. It involves a girl who gets raped and all of the emotional, physical trauma that happens with that affects her through the years that this book portrays. And going from her junior year of school to her senior year, she stops calling her parents mom and dad. And when that happened in the book, I was still blindsided because it didn't even mention it. It just happened. And I was confused, very confused, until I worked it out myself.
The book with a twist I didn't see coming is a book called Legion by William Peter Blatty. It's a horror novel, and it's the sequel to the Exorcist novel. And it's one of those, you can kind of see where it's going, especially if you know what the title refers to. But then you actually see it, and you're just sitting there reading it, and you're like, didn't see that one coming. And it's just this, it's hard to believe at times, but if you can believe it, I think it's actually scarier than The Exorcist.
Alexander Hamilton began to climb. How to account for his rise to the top?
Man, the man was non-stop. nonstop, a series that you marathons. And the one that I picked was actually Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. I've marathoned quite a bunch of series in my time, but I don't think I've ever actually marathoned an entire book series in one day like I did this one.
And I chose the I Fix series by Julia Crane. I read it only in a couple days. It's a really short series of only 3 books, but I still really loved it.
Always be satisfied.
Alright, Satisfied. Your favorite book with multiple point of views. And we both chose The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. And the funny story about this choice is I could not think of a single book with multiple point of views that I really enjoyed until my husband said, "What about that book with the prince and the assassin?" And we have The Kiss of Deception.
Let me tell you what I wish I'd known when I was young and dreamed of glory. You have no control. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?
This one is Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story, a book series that will be remembered throughout history. And we both, again, no contest,
Harry Potter. It is so iconic for our generation that if you haven't at least read the book series or watched the movies, we kind of feel like you've been living under a rock, and you need to participate in this fantastic world that J.K. Rowling has created. Alright, so these are some bonus questions that we felt we needed to put in there because they are just such great songs and categories for the rest of this Hamilton soundtrack edition.
Helpless, a relationship you were pulling for from the start. And I chose a book from a dear friend of mine called Pwned, again by Shannon Crane Camp. Hi, Shannon.
So I chose a book series back from my high school years called The Wicked Lovely series by Marissa Marr.
So what did I miss? What did I miss? Virginia, my home sweet home, I want to give you a kiss.
What I Miss, a book or series you were late to reading, and sadly enough, it's Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I bought this book a year ago and I still have not read it. I am so late to this bandwagon that I am very disappointed in myself.
Okay, and the one that I picked was actually one that I'm starting to read right now a lot more are the Shakespeare plays. And I grabbed this book that I'm reading right now called Shakespeare After All by Marjorie Garber. I read them in high school. I wasn't a huge fan of them, but then I read and watch them now, and I go to Shakespeare Festival in Utah and Cedar City. How did I miss these? I really don't know. I'm hooked on them right now, and they're absolutely incredible.
Wait for it. A book that was worth waiting for. And we have The Hamilton Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jeremy McCarter. This is a book all about the Broadway musical. From introductions to lyrics to cast, crew, everything is in this tome of wonderful awesomeness.
Also known as the Hamilton.
Alright, well, thank you so much for watching this Hamilton book tag. I hope it has inspired you to get on the Hamilton bandwagon if you are not already a member of it. And if you are a member of the Hamilton bandwagon, I strongly encourage you to do this tag if you have not already. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!